Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Camrose, Alberta. Those of you here, thanks for joining us. It's been a long road and a long time since we've been able to get together and have you guys in person in clinics. So we appreciate you coming today. For those of you in the branches and enjoying a little bit of a watch party with some of our other stores, thank you for joining us as well. And then for those of you at home, we appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we have a lot to go over and some good information for you and ways and means to make your equipment run the best it can. So that's why we're here today. With that, Louis Melanson is here with Case IH, and he is going to be going over some of the new things that are going on with 2022 and 2021 combines. And he'll give you an idea of some of the updates, and then we'll move on to some of the legacy machines and work on some of the optimization things that can help you and your farm. So with that, Louis, I'll leave it up to you and go ahead.
All right, Chad, thanks very much. Well, it's kind of fun to be back in front of a group of people because last year I had to do this looking into a video camera, and I don't know how many of you guys are used to look inside a video camera, but it usually don't talk back to you. And the reason I'm pointing this out is as we go along, I totally enjoy questions because that kind of makes the session a heck of a lot nicer. Unfortunately, we're going to have segments locked in for questions, so if you can just kind of memorize your questions and wait until we go through the question period, I think it'll flow a lot easier and better for the rest of the people that are actually at the dealership watching the same thing that we're watching. So anyway, a little bit about Louis Melanson. He's nobody special. I started my career back in 1976, and I remember back then asking the questions because I was dealing with launching the axial flow combines at that time, and I always wanted to meet the true combine guy. And I kept asking the same question every year, after year after year. And then after 30 years of doing this, then finally the person I went and asked, and he says, well, did anybody tell you that it's you? So I don't know how I got there, but anyway, the reason I mention that is that there's no such thing as a combine specialist. Okay, we might have the title, and I always ask myself, why is there not a combine specialist that knows everything about everything about everything? The big guy upstairs is the guy that decides what this season is going to be like. Okay, so when we start this season, the crops are going to be totally different than they were last year. So everything you knew last year, throw it away. Okay, because it'll be totally different this year. So for somebody, older people in the crowd, I think you totally understand what I'm saying. Because we think we know everything, and then, whoops, now it's throwing a curveball at me. So that's why we do these sessions, to try to help you understand the innards of the combine and how it's supposed to behave, so we can try to adapt it to the season that's coming. So, as you know, as we go along here, basically, technology is a big part of our lives now. And whether we like it or not, we have to embrace it. Okay, and I got told not too long ago, because somebody asked me, Louis, I thought you were retired. Well, I was on a conference call, and this come up, and they says, all right, everybody that's on a conference call need to embrace technology. And if you can't, you need to go look in the mirror and see if you can embrace technology or not. And if you can't, that means it's time for you to retire. So I went and looked in the mirror. Needless to say, I got off the conference call immediately. I went and looked, and I said, tomorrow morning, if I get up and I put a t-shirt on and a pair of shorts instead of a red shirt, that means I'm not embracing technology. So the next morning at 5 o'clock, next thing I know is I woke up, and I was halfway to High River, and I had my red shirt on and my black pants. So I told myself, I guess I'm embracing technology. So let's go get this air seeder going. All right? So that's kind of the way it works. You got to get up in the morning and embrace it and go, because we're not going to go back to old levers. Okay? So, and every year we come up with something new that makes people's lives easier. Okay? That's why the technology is there. So if we fight it, it makes us miserable. So just embrace it and go on with it. This is the way it's going to be. All right, let's talk a little bit about combine. That's what we came here for. Okay, so bottom line is, we always try to harvest more than we grow. That's the idea. Okay, so if you go less, that means you're going the wrong direction. So what you put in the ground, it better bring you some revenue. All right, talking a little bit about technology. I think a lot of you people over here know that we now have automations on combines. And I always like to kind of make automation as simple as possible. Because when I look at this, and you guys can count just as easy as I can, we call different sensors, okay? So if you look at all these sensors all the way around here, every one of these sensors, there's 16 of them. That's what makes automation operates. Okay, so 16 sensors. You're going to say, oh my God, what if one of those sensors go bad, Alvin? Okay? If one of those sensors goes bad, that means I'm stuck. Do you realize that you already have the majority of those sensors on there? We've had engine load ever since the 8010, back in 2002. We've had inclination sensors. We've had ground drive, oh no, not that one, ground speed sensors, feed speed sensors, tailing volumes, lower sieve position sensor, sieve loss sensor, upper sieve, not that one, rotor loss, rotor speed, and yield monitor. We already had all those all the way through since 2002. So the only ones we really added for automation is the cage vane, the ground speed sensor, sieve pressure sensor, grain cam, and the pre-sieve sensors, because now it's electric adjustable from the cab. What we call an electric actuator is a sensor, okay? All right, 250 series. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but basically you guys can read as well as I can. Okay, some of the major highlights is what's on the screen here. So basically increased lift capacity for the header, because headers are getting bigger and bigger. Dual lateral tilt is also available factory installed. So if you've got 45-foot header, you'll better entertain having 2 cylinders, because one won't cut it. Okay, it'll go like this, it'll stay there. Then you got to bounce it on the ground to bring it back. Not very good. So 2 cylinders, it'll go both directions, no problem. A little bit of the structural robustness. So that's the feeder itself. The clamp for lifting the header is heavier. All the side portion of it where it bolts the faceplate on is heavier. So there's a lot of improvements gone in there. The drive coupler for the top feeder shaft, that's totally new, okay? And no, it doesn't fit on the 240 series combines and priors, okay? So you have to buy a new combine. So, and new optional in-cab control for a adjustable faceplate that we'll talk about a little bit more later. Some of the changes is basically to lift higher. We change the position of the pins over here so that it's lowered, and so now it's got a better advantage to lift up. Plus the cylinders are bigger. So if you look at 10,000, that's the little one, 11.5 is medium, and then 13.5 is the bigger. How to identify the heavy-duty one is you look at the gearbox down at the bottom. That's the feeder drive gearbox. If it's painted black, you got the heavy one. If it's painted red, you've got the standard one. So as long as you see the black paint on there, you got the heavy one. That's a 13.5. Faceplate, that's another option that I think that everybody should pay the money and get, because you can adjust the tilt angle of your cutter bar using the faceplate, and you also have the advantage of the cylinder on the header as well. So you have 2 adjustments on there. Plus it can be programmable with your position 1 and position 2. So again, moving that faceplate forward and back is nice. Using the big bolts on the side, sorry, none of you guys adjust it. It stays there, it's bolted solid, stays there forever. But it should be moved. The faceplate, the heavier ones, medium and heavy, have a pin going across, and the standard one has the 3 bolts on the front. So that's another way of quickly identifying it. Floor geometry has been changed to where we got a bigger gap underneath the top feeder shaft, so that we can feed the bigger canola wads underneath there without plugging the feeder house. So that's basically the bottom line, and We got 2 floors in there now instead of 3. So then we eliminate the wear points that's happening as the crop is going one floor to the next. 3-piece floor, now it's a 2-piece floor. And here's the gap we're talking about. So we extended that 1/2 inch down there. These are the changes that we made, and the bottom line is this coupler over here is a replaceable coupler. You don't have to replace the whole top shaft. You just replace the coupler, plus this little coupler assembly over here that goes over top of the shaft. That's your wear coupler now. So it's just a little piece of spline, and if they wear, you just pull that off, you throw it in the bush, you put a new one on, and away you go. So looking at feeders that's been in the field since 2019 to today, guys are pulling the gearbox, looking at it, and there's very little to no wear at all in there, which used to be one of our wear points. Okay, so pretty much, I say put a nail in the coffin, I guess is what I call it. Plus the splines themselves are cone style splines, so they're not straight. They're kind of, it starts smaller, gets bigger, they get smaller. And cone splines are made to wear in misaligned. So that's what reduces the wear, okay? While the other ones were just straight blind. So if the alignment was not perfect, then you could get some excessive wear going on in here. We're going to jump this one. The feeder chain. Feeder chain is bigger. We went to an come on, Louis, 960 chain instead of a 557. So the inner links are much bigger, and I'll show you later on. I got comparison of the 2 of them. Transmission is now a 2-speed instead of the 4-speed. Okay, so it makes it easier. And then we added a high-low switch on here that you can shift on the go. So you don't need to stop to shift that one. You have to stop to shift the 1-2, but not the high-low. So if I'm operating gear 1 and I get to the end of the field and I want to turn out and go dump and the wagon is way back there, I'm going to hit that switch to high, and then I automatically go from 4 miles an hour to 8 miles an hour. So, and I don't have to move the handle. So again, it's a nice feature to have. The speeds that we used to have before with the 4 gears was 24.9. With the 2 gears, we still got 24.9s. Diff lock changed from a pedal to just a switch on the floor. Whoops, whoa, hey, hey. Somebody hit the button for me there. Come on. There. Okay, this is the new sensors. We added pressure sensors in the cleaning system. So the bar graph that you had, that you're used to be a funnel type. Okay, so now the funnel, as soon as I activate automation, will pop up and this bar graph will show up. That's the pressure that's on the cleaning system. So we measure the pressure between the top sieve and bottom sieve. So if it's not equal, you're going to see it on that bar graph. As long as it runs in the green, over here, she's good. She goes in the yellow, that's overloading on one side versus the other side, or vice versa. There's too much on top, less on the bottom. Okay, cameras, you can order them from the plant now. A couple of features that we got is now there's a different set of tracks. The tracks is now we purchase ATI, and now these tracks basically fit on all combines except for the ones that are ordered factory ready with Case IH tracks. We still have the Case IH dedicated tracks, but we also have another offering that you can get a set of tracks that you can bolt onto anything with suspension. So, a couple of rubber flaps on here. If you guys are running 250 series combines, they're all on there. 240 series, they're all on there. The rest of you guys, if you don't have that type of series combines, not a bad idea to look at your combine and go buy those things. Those are kits that makes the combine perform a lot better. And one more, which I would sacrifice myself and go out and buy it. This is a retarder bar that fits underneath the grate for the chopper and stops when the knives take off because you put non-compressible objects in. They can come down too fast and they let go and then they go straight through your sieve. If this saves you one sieve, it pays for itself right off the bat. So I would get it, bolted on there. It's optional, needs to be purchased from parts. All right, we're going to skip that one. That one, okay. The top feeder shaft, 240 series combines in this group, anybody? Okay. There was a new shaft that we came out that we drilled the clutch to where it would go down and the grease would actually go and grease the splines. And how to identify that is you just go and look inside here and you're going to see the serial number stamped right here. And that will tell you that I do have the new shaft. If there's no stamping over there, that's still the old style shaft. So